Buddy, what? Mind if I take a look?
What the hell is going on? It's supposed to be a local.
I'm very disappointed in you, Mahogany.
Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film and Comics Explained. And as requested, today we're exploring The Midnight Meat Train, the 2008 horror film written by Jeff Bueller and directed by Ryu Kitamura, based on the short story of the same name by Clive Barker. Set in modern-day New York City, the movie follows Bradley Cooper's Leon Kaufman, a photographer that desires more recognition in his industry. Living in an apartment with his supportive girlfriend Maya, played by Leslie Bibb, he spends his days snapping morbid photos of car accidents and other violent crimes to sell to tabloids.
Some Russian cabbie knocked a pedestrian through a storefront window, and I got there just as they were loading the body in the bag, and I thought I got the shot, but I don't think it's good enough.
Lacking the motivation to seek help from his peers, he's encouraged by Maya to expand his talents, and a meeting with the local art gallery owner is organized. While confident at first, Leon is shot down by the pretentious curator, who calls his work arresting, but ultimately empty.
You were at the right place, weren't you?
Yeah.
But not the right time. I want to know what comes next. I want to see the face of the businessman when the filth touches him.
Urged to pursue shots outside of his comfort zone, he takes up night photography, aiming to capture the harsh and violent nature of the city. Meanwhile, in the bowels of the subway system, a silent but intimidating figure played by Vinnie Jones commits brutal murders every night.
What the hell is going on? It's supposed to be a local.
Armed with a tenderizing hammer and meat hook, the superhuman butcher relentlessly stalks lone riders and tourists, bludgeoning them before preparing their corpses like livestock. A few days later, Leon notices a missing persons ad in the local paper and realizes he was the last person to see the woman alive. But when he reports his findings to the police, he's brushed off and ignored.
I thought that they looked suspicious, so I followed them.
But you did continue to photograph her.
Well, yeah.
Why? Come up with an answer. Call me.
Refusing to let the matter go, he begins his own investigation and discovers a number of unsolved cases, with all evidence pointing at Mahogany, the butcher at a nearby meat factory. However, Leon's cowardice prevents him from confronting Mahogany at first, forcing him to stalk him from the shadows with his camera in hand.
I'm sorry, mister. I just wanted a picture of you.
The investigation quickly becomes a full-blown obsession, driving a wedge between him and Maya, who begins to worry for his sanity. Becoming more infatuated with the depravity and violence the night brings, he's pushed further away from his emotional anchor, and the darkness begins to consume him.
These pins represent missing people for the last 3 years. Okay, not one of them has ever turned up. No, somebody's abducting them. And they never find the bodies because he takes them here.
Inching closer to the truth, he continues to encounter resistance from authorities, hinting at a larger conspiracy, and as Mahogany continues the nightly hunt, we also learn that he's been aided by the train conductor, who starts to doubt his effectiveness at butchering.
I'm gonna show that hammer up your ass!
I'm very disappointed in you, Mahogany. Clean up the mess.
Utterly convinced of his theory, Leon gains access to the midnight train and witnesses the butcher at work. But when he's spotted, Mahogany knocks him out and strings him up, before strange entities start to carve ritualistic markings into his chest. Waking up in an abattoir, he returns home and continues to freak out Maya with his erratic behavior and conspiracy theory.
Leon, what's the matter? Leon, please open the door.
Fed up with the secrecy, Maya and their mutual friend Jurgis break into Mahogany's apartment and discover a ledger detailing decades of killings. When she presents this information to the police, she too is dismissed and intimidated by them, leading Maya to board the midnight train and discover the truth for herself. At the same time, Leon gears up for his confrontation with Mahogany and heads to catch the same train. This culminates in a showdown between Leon and Mahogany in a car full of the butcher's recent victims, with Leon successfully incapacitating him as the train reaches its final stop in an abandoned tunnel. As gross, slimy, bipedal humanoid creatures emerge from the shadows and start feeding on the corpses, the conductor offers a world-shattering revelation. Mahogany was far from a deranged killer, but rather a servant tasked with obtaining sacrifices to feed an ancient race of beings that have lived underground since time immemorial. Now with their butcher dead, a new one must take his stead, and so the conductor kills Maya and rips out Leon's tongue, forcing him to take up the hammer as the new subway butcher, all in an effort to keep the world separate and prevent the ancient ones from venturing to the surface.
It must be done to keep the world separate. You'll understand soon enough.
Now serve, as we all do, without question.
The Midnight Meat Train is by far one of the best films based on Clive Barker's work. Starting as a brief 39-page short story, some changes were necessary to flesh it out into a full-length movie, but the core themes in tone remain unchanged. The biggest changes between the original story and the film adaptation come in the form of new characters and subplots that help reinforce Leon's descent. Jurgis and other characters like the comedic Otto are all unique to the film, as is Leon's job as a photographer. In fact, in the short story, Leon is a mindless office worker that hates his job and has been living in the city for several months. Additionally, he has no interest in solving the mystery of the killings until he's forced into the situation after falling asleep on the subway. In this way, he has a bit more agency in the film and is ultimately the one responsible for his downfall.
I want you to stop with the conspiracy theory. I don't want you to shoot terrible things. I just want you to shoot the stuff that makes you happy.
When compared to their counterparts, Leon and Mahogany are also notably different in characterization. While Mahogany is a silent and ominous figure in the film, he speaks more often in the book, reveling in his vital role of satiating the cosmic entities. Conversely, Leon stays tight-lipped throughout the majority of the story, only occasionally spouting off obscenities when aggravated. Ultimately, apart from the additional subplots, characters, and whodunit component that help flesh the world out, the movie wraps up the same as the book. However, instead of being informed by an all-knowing train conductor, Leon actually learns about the history of the ancient creatures from their leader, a being of true cosmic terror whose appearance defies description. Aided by the unwavering vision of Kitamura, the Midnight Meat Train ends up being much more than a simple slasher. Not only is our protagonist trying to find a killer, but he's embarking on a Kafkaesque journey that flips our understanding of his reality on its head. The shocking imagery will live rent-free in your head for years to come, but it's Clive Barker's mastery of obsession and Lovecraftian cosmic horror, also a trademark of his Hellraiser, that gets you. It's the inescapable pull of knowledge beyond our grasp, the magnetism of darkness we wish we hadn't known, encapsulated perfectly through Cooper's harrowing and complex transformation, the audience surrogate doomed to madness by his obsession.
I totally got him. Look, that's him. This is the guy, Maya. It's been happening. There's been abductions. It's happened before. I don't know if it's a copycat, but it's him, and I got him.
Vinnie Jones is an absolute powerhouse as a silent terror that embodies the fear of the unknown, despite only uttering a single word upon his death. The focus on character, atmosphere, cosmic horror, and obsession elevates the Midnight Meat Train beyond the cliches that plague the genre. Kitamura does a fantastic job with his first Western film, and Mahogany earns a spot as one of the best slasher villains of all time, which makes the mishandling of the film's release by the studio all the more disappointing. Despite this, the Midnight Meat Train is a must-watch for Clive Barker enthusiasts and lovers of Lovecraftian horror.